With eyes toward the State of the Union, we already know that President Obama's second-term agenda will focus on immigration, gun control, and climate change. But according to our next guest, if he wants to leave a long-term legacy, he should focus on blazing a more healthy, prosperous, and innovative trail for America's cities. America's 50 largest cities house two-thirds of the population, and they are responsible for three-quarters of total economic output. Joining us now is Richard Florida, professor at the University of Toronto and NYU, and senior editor for The Atlantic. And Richard, when you sort of frame it around the statistics I just cited, it sounds like a no-brainer that President Obama or any other politician on the national stage would be paying attention to urban America. But I think when you sort of look at the incentive game in politics, what I'm noticing is in the 2012 elections really, I think, pointed towards this. The Democratic base increasingly is concentrated really in, cities and metropolitan areas. The stat I keep citing to people is that Obama in victory this year actually won fewer counties than Michael Dukakis did while getting wiped out nationally 25 years ago. It strikes me that there is little incentive right now, little electoral incentive that Republicans are seeing towards playing to the city. They've just sort of written off urban America to the Democrats and focused on the rest of the country. Can there be an agenda? Can there be an urban agenda? Can that be on the agenda as long as that dynamic persists?
Steve, you're absolutely right. And I'll have a post coming at the Atlantic Cities later this week looking at the role of cities and metros in giving the president his victory and kind of redefining our electorate, creating that new majority for him and the Democrats around cities. But yeah, his big three issues, as you guys were just talking about, gun control, immigration reform, and climate change. Those are urban issues. The push for climate change in the United States and around the world has come from cities and mayors. The push for immigration reform around in the United States has come from mayors. And the push for better gun control has come from cities. Obama is a city guy. He lived in cities. He's hailed from cities, grew up in Honolulu and moved to L.A. and, lived in New York and Boston and later Chicago. So I think the time is right. And what I point to in the piece is two things. One, we need a Department of Cities to make the investments we're making in this country on infrastructure, in the environment, on affordable housing, on job creation, to make them more effectively. And two, if we're going to think where that bulwark of bipartisan change is going to come from, who are the pragmatic leaders in the country, the president should go right to the mayors, whether it's a Republican or independent like Mike Bloomberg, a Democrat like Rahm Emanuel. Across the spectrum, the mayors are the ones who are developing the innovative and pragmatic solutions. So in creating a new Department of Cities, I think he can not only make urbanism part of his economic agenda, climate change agenda, gun control agenda, immigration reform agenda, he can break the deadlock in Washington by appealing to the people who want positive change.
Well, and Richard, dig down a little bit more into the Department of Cities. What exactly would it do? How would it work?
Well, my sense is that HUD was great for its time, created in the mid-1960s when cities were emptying out, to really be the bulwark of both urban renewal, so to speak, by renewing those downtown cores and providing affordable public housing. But that mission is no longer what cities are about. Cities are the fulcrum of innovation, economic growth, with density providing better and more affordable housing, and climate change in a more efficient environment. So my sense is it pulls together pieces of the Department of Transportation that are going to make the $2 trillion investment in our infrastructure, pieces of the Department of Environmental Protection. Of course, it folds in all of HUD and other relevant agencies, Department of Commerce, the Economic Development Administration, that are all making investments in not only making better cities and metro areas, but in making those investments more rationally. And I think it could be one of the first places that really gives weight to this notion of we're going to cut to invest. By focusing these kind of pork barrel agendas and making them strategically, we can do more with less and build stronger cities, stronger suburbs, and stronger metros.
Well, Richard, poverty has significantly increased over the past 4 years, and it's always been higher in rural areas than in urban areas. Do you worry at all that this new Department of the Cities, this new focus on cities, is going to take away resources from focusing on rural poverty?
No, I don't think so. I think a Department of Cities would focus on all various areas, suburban areas, traditional urban cores, even rural areas. And we know rural areas are about split. Some of them are growing very nicely, and some of them are just terribly in poverty. But I really think the poverty agenda in the United States has to be reframed as an economic development agenda. You know, when I look at poverty, I see a tremendous waste of human talent and human capabilities. And I would think to make poverty part of an economic development strategy, investing in people, investing in human capital, and investing in our places across the spectrum, that's what a Department of Cities and Economic Growth would do.
All right, Richard Florida, thanks for joining us. Straight ahead, something President Obama will likely not mention in his State of the Union, drones. Teray sets the record straight on his thoughts on the matter next.